Narayan Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayavadira Eshkapreshu Bhadresu Nityam Bhagata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashaki Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Nigama Kapurugaritam Param Shukamakaram Rita Drovi Samitam Vibhata Bhagatam Rasha Mario Mahora Hora Sik Bhuvagaham Krishna Swadam Upagate Dhammagini Saha Karunashta Dishamisha Parana Kodidodidaham Tamapiyadabhishuddha Vishuddham Vibhu Samyapyadena Vidambariksaram Prakyahido Maridam Sankleshanirvanam Santi Nanyataham Drakvasharanam Charanam Bhajam Hare Bhajana Pakvatapathed Yoto Yadi Kovatatam Bhajatam Shadamata Kovatatam Bhajatam Shadamaram. Repeated that verse twice. Om Agena Timirandasya Ganagana Sanagya Chaksurun Miritam Yanatashmai Sri Guru Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manavishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutare Swayam Rupakaramayam Tarati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sita Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagadadam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishikan Vitam Stam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesa Sanyavadi Praskita De Satarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktabindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. What's the word for this morning, Rob?
Just beautiful morning. We got some good rest last night, thankfully, and looking forward to the last day, full day we have together. Probably going to try and go to the zoo to see some animals.
Hey, Cal. Are you there, Cal? I heard you gurgling in the background there. Hare Krishna, Cal. Gee, Cal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna? Yeah, say it louder.
Oh, that was it. I heard it. It was a loud whisper. Thank you, Cal.
Yes.
Good morning. Enjoy the zoo today with your dad. Good morning, Brent. Good morning, Jean. Thanks for joining us. We will most certainly finish up this verse today. After all, it's the 7th time we revisit it. It's the 20th verse, 5th chapter, 1st canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Good morning, Govinda. Yeah, let's all go to the zoo today. That's where it's all happening. Subhadra, Hare Krishna, thanks for joining us. This last chance to commit this verse to memory. Idam hi visham bhagavata ivetaro Rakesh. Please accept my obeisances, glories to Prabhupada. Yato jagatstana niroda shambhavaha tadi shayam veda bhavam statapite pradesha matram bhavata pradarsanam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is himself this cosmos, yet he is aloof from it. From him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated. In him it rests, and under him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows about this. I have only given a synopsis, says Narada Muni to his disciple Vyasadeva. And Prabhupada says, we talked about this yesterday, Samsrita Pada Palavaparam, in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, this material world is described as a vast, insurmountable ocean. To get across it, you need something like a big ocean liner, a Caribbean cruise ship, or a Queen Mary. It's the only way you can get through, weather the storms and the turbulent waves, protect yourself from the dangerous aquatics that live in the ocean, keep yourself from drowning. Anyone who desires to cross such a vast ocean by holding the tail of a dog is a fool. I think everyone will agree on that point. It's not too controversial statement, is it? Sometimes people worship the demigods in order to get some temporary benediction. But the demigods cannot take you across the ocean of birth and death, the ocean of samsara. However, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead who creates both the material and spiritual worlds. By virtue of surrender and shelter at his lotus feet, those lotus feet are like an ocean liner. Those lotus feet are like a Caribbean cruise ship. They're like the Queen Mary. So if you identify yourself in service as a part to the whole, you can't become the Queen Mary. You can't become an ocean liner, but you can put yourself there as a passenger. That means in the mood of service, you can become one with the Lord as an instrument to do his will here. In that sheltered environment, as an atom, Ainanda Tanuja King Karam Pititam Mishame Bhavura Kripayatava Para Pankajastadada Vidishitam. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Lord, pick me up as an atom at your lotus feet. Feet are generally the lowest part. We don't, in this material world, aspire to have much to do with the feet. In fact, in India, it's a great offense to touch anybody's upper body with your foot, somehow or other. We take our shoes off before we go into the house because they're dirty. We meditate in the shower. Am I going to bend down today to clean my feet? We clean all the parts of our body that are within reach of our hands, but then we look down at our feet, and it's such a long way down there. It's a debate, but the feet are the part that need it the most. So in the material world, the feet are the dirtiest, lowest part. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, my Lord, son of Nanda, please pick me up as an atom at your lotus feet. So he's indicating that whereas the feet in the material world are normally the lowest position, Krishna's lotus feet are the highest destination, the highest goal to which one can aspire. Every visitor to the temple gets the feet of the Lord on his head. Priest says, Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam Sada Vasanti Suyo Diviva Chaksaratatam Yad Vipasho Bhanyo Jagavam Samsamidate Vishnaparam. The benediction is, don't become a big shot in this material world. Don't get a lot of wealth and influence and political power and then have a big swelled head going around with a feeling of entitlement, taking things for granted. The prayer is, may you always go around, even if you are wealthy, well-connected, good-looking, highly placed on the political ladder, even if you are, the priest is going to bless you with a mantra to the effect that let you always think of yourself not as someone of privilege, someone of entitlement, but let you always think of yourself as an atom at the lotus feet of the Lord, and let you think of your influence, your bank balance, your connections as coming due to the mercy of the Lord, and only that. The Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Just think of Hiranya Kashipu. The Lord asked the devoted Prahlad Maharaj for a benediction, and Prahlad immediately got on his alert. Alarm started going off, and he said, Lord, why would I want a benediction? I'm your servant. I've seen what happens when people get benedictions. My father got all kinds of benedictions from Lord Brahma. So much so, in fact, that he conquered the whole universe. He ousted Indra from Indraloka and sat on Indra's throne. In place of Indra, he controlled weather patterns. He intimidated, barked out orders to Kuvera, Chanda, Varuna. Those demigods rushed to do his orders. If he lifted his eyebrow in displeasure, the demigods themselves would tremble in trepidation. I've seen what happens when there are benedictions. You get attached, and then you get envious of others, and you get defensive. You live in suspicion and mistrust. Tatsaramani Suyava Samabhigna. It's like falling into a dark well in the darkness of the forest. You're alone and there's no one to save you. They say it's lonely at the top. So Prahlad Maharaj said, Lord, don't ask me for a benediction. I've seen what happened to my father. He had every benediction you could imagine. Imagine, put yourself in Hiranya Kashipu's place. It cannot be killed the day or the night. in the house or out of the house, on the land, the air, and the sea, cannot be killed by any man or beast or by any weapon. Imagine if you had those benedictions. Would you think you're the luckiest person in the world? Not Prahlad, not the devotees. Prahlad said, my father had it all, and yet it just went to his head. It made him get more and more arrogant. It made him take more and more licenses. He trampled on more and more other living beings. He agitated the Supreme Father of all living beings up to the point that he harassed his own son, who was a pure devotee. When the demigods went to Vishnu and asked for relief from the oppression of Hiranya Kashipu, Vishnu indicated what is the last straw. Nirvarya Prashantya Shashuta Mahatmana Pradada Yadidana Dinishe Vibhurajam. He said, when he harasses his own son, who is peaceful, mild, friendly to all living entities, a pure devotee of the Lord, I am Nishkipisha Shakshad. I am Nishkipisha Shakshad. Maha Bhagavato Mahan. Na prapyate shamiro anantan charo balam. It is said that Prahlad Maharaj was a pure, spotless devotee of the Lord. He was Maha Bhagavato Bhataham. And because he was fixed as an atom in service at the lotus feet of the Lord, Hiranyakashipu was warned. He says, Na prapyate shamiro. Your desire, your passion to kill, to eliminate this young boy, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, will be frustrated. Why? Ananta Nirucharobhara. Ananta means God is Ananta. There are no limits to his powers. Anu means follower, because Prahlad is a follower of the unlimited Lord Vishnu, because Prahlad has taken shelter as an atom at his lotus feet. He's too powerful to kill. He's too powerful, even for you, who conquered Kuvera, who conquered Indra, who conquered Varuna. Even you conquered all the demigods. You can't even kill your 5-year-old son because he's an Ananta Nunochara. He's a servant of the most powerful Lord Vishnu. So Prahlad says, I saw everything that my father had, all the benedictions that my father accumulated, finished within a second. The Lord said to the demigods, when he harasses his son, Prahlad Maharaj, who is sinless, is kind and merciful and compassionate, equal to all living entities, then I'm going to kill him, Dinishe Pi Barorjitam, in spite of the benedictions of Lord Brahma. Prahlad tried to benedict his own father in the same way. Vyaktam tam marjakamashmin. Prahlad roared at Prahlad. Vyaktam tam marjakamashmin. Marja means death, kama means desire. Hiranyakashipu roars at his son Prahlad. Vyaktam tam marjakam. You must be someone who desires to die, he says to his son. He says, people who talk like you, foolish people who talk like you, foolish 5-year-old boys who try to override the power of their father and the seminal guru to rule them, are those who are marcho kama. They're desirous of dying. Hiranyakashipu was beside himself. The demigods cowered in fear on bended knee. And here Prahlad tells him, Jahiya sharam imam tamatmana samo mana datsham nishantim rite bavad upatisire tadihi ananta shamahatsana. Again, that word ananta comes up. Prahlad says, you, my dear father, are full of stress, full of anxiety, full of attachment, full of arrogance, full of enmity. You want to kill me, your 5-year-old son, who are your well-wisher. You would be much better off if you were to give up your crown, give up your position, go to a holy place like Vrindavan and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jahiyasaram Bhavam. Just some or other find a way to give up your mentality of asura. Suras are those who are godly, peaceful, righteous, friendly, kind, non-competitive, non-attached. It says, Suras are those of the former description. Asuras are those without any of those qualities, envious, competitive, cruel. So Prahlad Maharaj says, Jahi ashram, you should give up your godless mentality. Jahi ashram, imam bam kamam atmanam. The result of which is that you'll become peaceful. You won't any longer see people in terms of friends, enemies, or neutral parties. You'll see everyone once you become detached, everyone as your sister, your brother, child of God. Samo manov datsam. And this way your mind, seeing everyone equally, will become very, very peaceful. It doesn't have to end this way. Prahlad is warning his father. It doesn't have to end badly. You still have it within your power to make a 180, to turn around, to see the light and give up your tyrannical, asuric disposition, the result of which is that all of those things which are bothering you, which are stressing you out right now, will settle down, will reduce, diminish. Everything will ameliorate. Your relationship with me, your son, will improve. Other living beings ceasing to fear you, tremble in your presence, will appreciate you, will glorify you, will support you, will seek to have intimate, meaningful, deeply satisfying relationships with you. But Prahlad gave his father this advice very clearly at the risk of his life. His father had already warned him, you're talking like someone who wants to die. But Prahlad didn't stop. He didn't step back. He didn't cease and desist. He went on. That's the nature of devotees. They cannot but give the best advice to anybody who approaches them. Just like the expert, conscientious physician, he always tells the patient what is good for his health, and he never tells the patient what is injurious for his health. Hiranya Kashipu had a guru, the sons of Sukracharya, Nanda and Sunanda, and they misguided him. They were seminal gurus, they were family gurus. They steered him towards getting benedictions from Lord Brahma, the chief of the demigods, instead of seeking shelter of Lord Krishna. So these were not qualified gurus. They were misleading in the name of piety, in the name of religion. The sons of Sukracharya led, not that he didn't want to, basically you get a guru. If you want to be cheated, you'll find a cheater. So Hiranyakashipu, with his twisted mentality, found himself as the disciple of two gurus who advised courses of actions which are not helpful, but which are ultimately injurious to one's eternal spirit soul. It's said that those who worship the demigods, their minds are twisted by material desires. Kamas tasya ganaha prapadante tam tam niyama niyata prakrita shwaya. Says those whose minds are distorted by material desires will worship the demigods. With the same amount of effort, you can worship Lord Krishna and become free from birth, death, disease, and old age. But worshiping the demigods with elaborate expenses, elaborate rituals, results only in antavanti medahanit, antavatu phalam tejam tadbhavati medidam. Demigod worship results only in temporary benedictions. Prahlad says, look at what happened to my father. He had everything from the lower, the middle, and upper planetary systems, and it was all finished within a moment. Once the Lord appeared before him in a half man, half lion incarnation, not by the day, not at night, but at twilight, not inside the house or outside the house, but on the porch. Hiranyakashipu died not by land or air or sea, but he was put in the lap of the Lord, not by any man or beast, but by the half man, half beast incarnation of the Lord, not by any weapon, but by the sharp fingernails of the Lord. This was his end, and it was predicted. It was foretold by his son Prahlad, who had his father's best interests in mind. Devotees of the Lord neither want for themselves any material benedictions in exchange for their service, neither will they ever advise anyone on a path lower, neither will they ever compromise the path of devotional service. The worship of demigods is there as a concession, as a fallback course of action for those who are so bent on some material benediction or desires. You can worship Surya for health. You can worship the wife of Shiva for a good wife. You can worship Lakshmi for wealth. You can worship Indra for good rainfall and good crops. And these are all temporary benediction. In fact, Krishna often takes away material opulences in order to get the devotee to lean more fully, to depend more fully on Krishna. And because of that, many people avoid worshiping Krishna. Generally, it's accepted that Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but it's also known that just like the expert physician will never encourage you to eat food which is injurious to your health, Krishna nor his devotees will ever encourage anybody to worship the demigods or to act in terms of fruitive activities. The system is there in the Vedas because it's better than nothing. But compared to devotional service, it is a fig. It is a misdirection. So the verse is there in the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th chapter. Sreyam nisrayasyam bindvam nabhatyagaham naratyoganopatram panchatopi vishaktamaha. Pure devotee who is fully accomplished in the science of devotional service will never instruct a foolish person to engage in fruitive activities for material enjoyment, not to speak of helping him in such activities. Such a devotee is like an experienced physician who never encourages a patient to eat food injurious to his health, even if the patient desires it. Look at what happened to Hiranya Kashipu with the benediction of Lord Brahma. You would have thought he was protected from all sides against destruction, and yet still the Lord, in his infinite wisdom, found the loophole to come in to fulfill all the benedictions of Lord Brahma, and at the same time get rid of Hiranyakashipu, who is described as a case of meningitis in the universe. It is said, you give a fool enough rope and they will hang themselves. Materialists see themselves as being happy if they could only get enough wealth, if they could only get enough influence, if they could only get power over enough people, if they could get enough bank balance in their money in the bank balance. But look what happened with Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu had any variety or any quantity of sense gratification that anybody could ever imagine. He thought that he would be in control. He thought that he would be sovereign. He thought that he would be the enjoyer. But the more sense gratification Hiranyakashipu got, guess what? The more he became the servant of his senses. So the more he got in the name of power and enjoyment and success, the more he was pushed down, degraded, enchained, bound up by the ropes of sense gratification. Prabhupada always used to say, plain living, high thinking. The opposite is also true. High living, plain living. The story of Alexander the Great. He heard of a great yogi, a great renunciate. He went to see the yogi. The yogi didn't even look at him. Didn't stand up to receive him. Didn't offer him a sitting place. Didn't acknowledge him in any way. Finally, Alexander screamed. He pulled out his sword. He screamed. He said, do you know who I am? Yogi casually opened his eyes, looked disdainfully at Alexander, who conquered the known world at the time. He said, yeah, I know who you are. You're a servant of my servant. Well, that didn't make Alexander too happy. He said, what do you mean by that? The sage says, I conquered anger a long time ago. Anger is my servant. Anger never gets its grips into me. Anger doesn't control me. I control anger. And you are a servant of anger. Right now, you're totally lost. You're totally under the grip of rage. So anger is my servant, and you are a servant of anger, so you are a servant of my servant. To his credit, Alexander saw the wisdom of what was said, and he sat down, and then he went on to ask the sage many other questions as well, to get a little bit of enlightenment. Hiranyakashipu was also the lord of the material universe, and as such, he was the servant of anger. When Prahlad didn't flatter him, when Prahlad didn't bend his knee before him, when Prahlad didn't back down, but persisted in giving him the right advice to cure his material fever, the result was Hiranya Kashipu got into a towering rage. It's true. It says if you give a full good advice, the result will not be gratitude. The result will be anger. Krodasya. Hiranya Kashipu said to his son, Yasha kampate treya loka shaisharam tasya me vidam mudam sashanam kim below chaga. Says, my dear son Prahlad, you rascal, Krodasya trilokam ajatendriyam. Don't you know that I have conquered the entire three worlds? Don't you know that when I even raise an eyebrow in displeasure, all the worlds tremble, including the chief demigods? By whose power has a rascal like you become so impotent that you appear fearless and overstep my power to rule you? So that's the question. By whose power has a 5-year-old boy become emboldened to talk back to his father? Normally, we wouldn't talk back to our father. Normally, our parents are older and more mature and more experienced, and we should listen. We'll save a lot of time, a lot of trouble, a lot of grief if we take the advice of those who are more experienced and who have our best interests at heart. But where the father misleads the child in terms of sense gratification, one has to reject the advice of the father. Similarly, when the guru misleads one, one has to reject the advice of the guru. Isn't it interesting that even though the older generation, they followed a certain path, they bought into material progress, we see that they're not happy, they're not frustrated, they're not fulfilled, they reach middle age, they feel a certain angst, a certain ontological desperation. It manifests sometimes in midlife crisis and ulcers and premature health problems and all. And it all arises from a fact of not having become the person that God created them to be. They've missed their destiny. Instead of making a difference, they've just settled into making a living. And then they drown this anxiety, this lack of fulfillment with alcohol, with movies, with Netflix, with DVD, with illicit engagement with women, and it all is meant to dull the gnawing sensation of regret that what would I have been if I had been true to myself, true to my God, and true to the purpose for which I was created. When Hiranya Kashipu asked Prahlad, by what power are you fearless and overstep my ability to rule you? Prahlad answers, Nakavalis me bhagavanis charajan savai balam badam chapareshanam parevare stirayanganvoya brahmadyo yena vasam pranita. My power comes from the same place that your power comes from, the same place that Brahma, who gave you those benedictions, come from. In fact, everybody's power has a common source, a common origin, and that power is the power of Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no separate source of power. The source of everyone's power is one. And right now, Prahlad is connected, and Hiranyakashipu is disconnected. All the words of Prahlad Maharaj are such sweet, pleasing words. They're meant to put his father back on the right track. They're meant to realign his priorities and make his life successful. And yet, the fault of Hiranyakashipu, as in common with most people, is that he cannot hear. It's not very difficult to hear. God gave us 2 ears. Sit down, hear from a higher authority, a more realized, more experienced person. We save so much time, so much energy, so much grief. That should be the main duty in the human form of life. Before rushing off and wasting whole seasons of your life on a whim, capriciously, one should, first and foremost, figure out what's the axiom of life. As a mathematician, you shouldn't rush off to make all sorts of equations and formulas without getting very clear in your mind what are the axiomatic truths. Prabhupada said, you can fill a whole blackboard with an equation, but if the first axiom, 2 + 2 = 5, then the whole thing is going to be wrong. So who are we? Who created us, and for what purpose? That should be settled first before we decide on our life's actions, collectively and individually. 2 + 2 = 4. Natu baham jatunasham. Krishna says to Arjuna, you and I are eternal. Never was a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all those kings, nor in any future time will we cease to be. Now, the difference between Arjuna and people like Hiranya Kashipu, the difference between suras and asuras, is that the suras hear. They take the time to hear. Tad viganatam samve evami samipani sroktam brahmanishtam. The whole cause of the human form of life, the whole energy of the living being, can be purified from the very beginning, that as early as possible, being encouraged by the true parents, the true guru, to listen to the instructions of a bona fide devotee of the Lord. Such a person will never encourage one in the way of demigod worship or temporary benedictions. Such a one will always give one the advice which will lead to the fruit of love of God and liberation from birth, death, disease, and old age in this material world. In the Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, 1st verse, Krishna makes this crystal clear to Arjuna. Maya sakta manaparta yogam yangyam marasarya samsam samagam yata jignashashi tachnu. Krishna said, tachnu. He said, now hear, O Arjuna. The key is here. The first step is here, O Arjuna. How? By practicing yoga yunyam, manasara, the yoga of shelter, asraya. How? By practicing yoga of shelter. And how do we shelter? We avail ourselves of the instructions of Krishna coming to the unbroken chain of disciplic succession. The result is those instructions, that sound vibration entering into the holes of the ears, will clarify the muddy waters of our consciousness, distill them, and help us come up to the perfect conclusion of the purpose of life, without any doubt. Samagam yata jignashasi tachna. Just as the autumnal rains will take, when the rains fall on the waters that have been muddied through the long, hot summer season, the effect of those drops of water on the reservoirs of muddy water are that the mud separates and those autumnal pools of water become crystal clear. Pibanti te bhagavatam param kantamaritam shambhara pananti te vishana vedanti chaks charana soror hantikam. Drinking the nectar of Krishna's name, fame, glories, and pastime through the holes of the ear has the result of purifying the heart, destroying all the unwanted, dirty, muddy things in the heart, and helping one to focus and distill one's consciousness directly about Krishna. Over and above that, Krishna is seated in the heart. When he notices that the living being finally, at long last, is willing to lend submissive oral reception to the glories of the Lord from the lips of a pure devotee of the Lord, Krishna works from within the heart to develop one's dormant transcendental knowledge. The more that one hears from the Lord, the more that one becomes fixed, the more that one becomes unbudgeable in devotional service. Ado shodo todo sadasang tabarjana kriya tato nartan vishishat ata shaktas tatavava tatabime sadakam naro prade prade pravetkana. From one stage to another, beginning with faith, ado shodo todo sadasang, then association, tato nartan avitasha. Gradually, bad habits like illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling disappear from one's life. Then Ata shaktishtata bhavas. And finally, attachment and taste and fixity and unbudgetability, and then bhava, ecstasy, and finally the full fruit of love of God, Krishna prema. Evam prashana manasho bhagavat bhakti yoga. One needn't engage or pursue any other goal or any other area or category of activity. One needs primarily and purposely to sit down and hear about the personality of God. Hearing about the Lord means the effect of the modes of passion and ignorance, the material lusts, the avarices, the competition, the anger. All these Krishna works from within the heart to eradicate them. Kechit kevala bhakta, niharamiva bhaskara. Just like the rising morning sun dissipates the fog, similarly the rising sun of Krishna from within the heart of the living being dissipates all unwanted things, elevates one to this platform of Vishuddha Sattva, uncontaminated, unmixed goodness, the result of which one becomes joyful, one becomes energetic, one becomes enlivened in devotional service, having understood the science of the love of Godhead perfectly. In this way, beginning and ending by hearing a samagramam, one knows Krishna without doubt, one severs the hard knot of material affection and enables oneself to come to the stage of a samagram, understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubt. This is the goal. This is the summum bonum, the param satyam of all human endeavor. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Is that enough wisdom for you all on this Wednesday morning, emanating from Utah? Thanks for joining us, Bear, again. Nice emoji of a lotus flower there. Like that. Bhakti Gary's also given us another lotus flower, the petals of which spell BHAKTI. Appreciate that. Bhakti Gary, please accept my obeisances. Rakesh, love the background. We're trying to get in the mood of the Festival of Colors. It's coming up now in just about 7 weeks' time here in Spanish Fork. Subhadra, Hare Krishna. George is on his way to the zoo to meet up with Kel today. And Brent, Hare Krishna, Brent. Brent comes by 1 day a week to help out our volunteers and work in the garden, so on and so forth. Thank you all for joining us on Wisdom Wednesday. That definitely, we spent 7 sessions on the 20th verse in the 5th chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Today I'm going to rush off. We're having lunch with a fellow from Utah Public Broadcasting. He wants to come and meet with us today about doing a special show on Utah's Krishna pioneers. He wants to do the story for Utah Public Broadcasting of the evolution, the planning of the first Krishna temple in Utah, in Spanish Fork, Utah, the radio station, and then the subsequent temple in Salt Lake City. So he's going to come for lunch and talk to us about that. So we're going to prepare a good lunch. And then this afternoon, we have another huge batch of zucchinis and squashes and peppers that we've culled from the gardens. And it's all cut up and ready, waiting. So I'm going to cook up 30 or 40 gallons of summer braised vegetable subjis, which we'll freeze and bring out for people's nourishment at the Festival of Colors, which will be September 25th and 26th this fall. Thanks very much for having been with us. Most of you are with us for Motivational Monday, Transcendental Tuesday, and for Wisdom Wednesday. We very much deeply appreciate your taking the time to be with us, to glorify and honor the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Hari.